When you hear flapping, screeching, or squeaking in the night, does your blood run cold? Is your mind flooded with images of bats, the flying rats that haunt caves and other dark, dank places? Or even worse, are you struck with fear that one of the bats flying over you is actually the ancient bloodsucker Dracula, out to drain you of your life force? It's understandable. These mice with wings have developed a reputation for sucking blood, carrying disease, and otherwise just being a bunch of little nasties. But is that what they really are? Are all bats really waiting to get you outside in the middle of the night to drink you like a juice box? The answer might surprise you, and the true nature of bats might be vastly different from the reputation that has been cultivated around them. Hi, I'm Jay, and you're watching Bad Science. Every week, we pick one member of the animal kingdom to undergo a rigorous investigation. I then take everything I learn and deliver those facts to you the only way I know how, badly. This week, we have the nocturnal nightmares known as bats. So protect your neck from tiny fangs, grab some night vision goggles, and let's get started. Bats are animals that belong to the order Chiroptera, and while we take their presence for granted, they're actually extremely interesting creatures. For instance, did you know that there are more than 1,400 different species of bats? Or that bats are the only mammals on the planet that are capable of true and sustained flight? Besides, a human on an airplane. Or a flying squirrel with a jetpack. These things only need their weird-ass wings to take to the sky, and they can do it for a while. You're probably wondering what makes a bat's wings weird, so let me lay it out for you. The bat's flying limbs aren't that different from the limbs we have. They have arms, and essentially what works out to be hands with long fingers at the end of them. You can see a better example of the structure of a bat's wings in this image. Those three lines that separate the fleshy segments of the wing, those are fingers. They even have a tiny thumb if you look closely. Ugh, they freak me out. But this wing design makes bats incredible flyers. Those nimble fingers make them even more agile than most birds in the air. Well, that's true for some bats at least. Because there are hundreds upon hundreds of different species, there's a massive amount of variance between the many different aspects that make up a bat, which can largely depend on its environment. For instance, Kitty's hog-nosed bat, also known as the bumblebee bat, is incredibly tiny at just over an inch tall, with a wingspan of 6 inches and a weight of just 2 grams. That makes it not just the smallest bat, but also the smallest mammal on the planet. On the other end of the spectrum, you have the giant golden-crowned flying fox, which can weigh more than 3 pounds and have a wingspan of more than 5 feet. If I saw one of those things hanging from a tree, I would sprout my own wings and fly away. Fun fact, in jolly old England, the bat was once referred to as the flittermouse. Does it look like a mouse with wings? I don't think so, but I'm not from England. Eating beans on toast makes you see crazy things, I suppose. Since there's such a great number of bats with such great variance in their traits, there is also astonishing variety in their diets. Some bats eat insects, some eat fruits, others eat nectar, and some even eat fish. Others, however, well, they eat blood. No, really, just like in the movies, they love the stuff. However, it's not quite how you think. Vampire bats, named after the infamous neckbiters, aren't flying in circles around your neighborhood, waiting for you to put the trash out at night so they can get a quick bite. Vampire bats tend to feast on the blood of other animals, including things like pigs, horses, and cows. Some even like to eat the blood of birds. That doesn't mean that vampire bats never eat human blood. That's still something that happens. Just make sure your windows are closed at night. Or sleep with a scarf. Fun fact, contrary to popular belief, vampire bats don't suck blood. After they approach their prey, which is usually sleeping, they sneak up, make a little bite or incision with their sharp fangs, and then lick up the blood. The bat community calls this the scrape and lick. You probably already know that most bats are nocturnal. If you don't, you should write a strongly worded letter to your first grade teacher. Because bats are active during the night anyways, their eyesight is pretty bad. And not the kind of bad that can be fixed by tiny glasses. Instead of good eyes, some bats have been gifted with amazing ears, which are capable of hearing frequencies well over 100,000 hertz. If that doesn't sound impressive to you, the human ear can only hear up to 20,000 hertz, just 1/5 of what a bat can hear on the top end. Hey, wait! Now's the time. Subscribe to the channel to be entertained while learning. It's free! Some bats have even developed special growths that can help direct and interpret sound, called nose leaves. They're hideous, but boy do they help them hear well. These select bat species use their incredible ears to see in the dark through a process called echolocation. To do this, a bat will first make a sound up to 140 decibels loud, and then they are able to process the sound that returns to it to determine how close it is to an object and how big that object is. It's the same concept that makes sonar work on submarines. This superpower is surprising. Nature could give them guide dogs for the blind, but instead, bam! A hyper-technological super sonar. While most bats have a knack for sound, there are others that have a need for speed. Most bats can fly pretty fast thanks to their weird fingerbone wings, but they all pale in comparison to the Mexican free-tailed bats. According to a research article submitted to the Royal Society Open Science, a group of scientists recording bat flight speeds found that the Mexican free-tailed bat can reach speeds of roughly 100 miles per hour. Cheetahs are widely accepted for their incredible speed, and they top out at just 75 miles per hour. If I were a Mexican free-tailed bat, I'd be running a campaign to be recognized as the fastest mammal in the world. Something the majority of bat species share is a need for community. Some species, like the mouse-eared bat, live a solitary life, but a great many other species thrive in large communities. Excuse me, not large, that's an understatement. Bats live in fucking massive communities. Our speedy friend, the Mexican free-tailed bat, will travel more than 1,000 miles every year to visit Bracken Cave in Comal County, an area just outside of San Antonio, Texas. Between March and October, a staggering 20 million bats take up residence in the cave, which makes it the largest concentration of mammals in any part of the world for those months. Bats that hibernate will also swarm safe areas when their time for the big sleep is on the way. The bat communities that form in these places at these times will then engage in behavior that's not very different from the communities we recognize as humans. They share food, form groups and subgroups, and find mates to reproduce with. Some bats will also engage in mutual grooming to clean each other, as some monkeys and apes do. But they aren't just monkeying around. They do this to form and strengthen bonds within their community. Female short-nosed fruit bats are also known to engage in fellatio during copulation, which is probably pretty good at forming bonds as well. How beautiful is the society of these would-be flying nightmares. Now that you know more about bats, how do you feel about them? Does your spine still tingle at the thought of crossing paths with one of these tiny night flyers? Or do you feel more at ease knowing that they would probably prefer some fresh cow blood? I really hope that you have a more positive outlook on bats now, because they actually play multiple, very important roles in the animal kingdom as well as in our own society as humans. Do you hate bugs? Bats, and even small communities, can eat more than a ton of insects in a year's time, erasing as many as 600 million bugs from existence. Some bats save farmers around $1 billion per year by eating bugs that would go on to decimate their crops. How do you feel about foods like mangoes, bananas, or avocados? Without bats, there would be no way for these or 300 other species of fruits to be pollinated, so you can kiss those delicious foods goodbye. The study of bats' echolocation has led to better hearing aids for the deaf. Their droppings, called guano, are an incredibly powerful fertilizer for crops, and more than 80 different vaccines have been developed through bat research. So next time you hear a flapping in the night sky, give our bat friends a thumbs up. Thanks for watching this episode of Bad Science. I'm Jay, and if you want to learn more about all kinds of animals, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss a video. See you next time.